few gaps there. So 7th to 11th of June we'll be discussing today. So when we are talking about the weekends, there was not very much which was in news, and then when we see the Indian politics or the domestic news, then most of them were around the oath taking and the ministry formation, etc. So we'll be talking about that. Okay, so coming to today's discussion, we'll be discussing newspaper from 7th to 11th. There are certain articles for your own read which has been covered in news series by me itself. So you can see those articles over there, and let's start with the today's discussion. Okay, so we'll start with the practice question which was given to you in the previous lecture. We'll discuss that, and then we'll move to the 3-4 important articles. One is related to Modi's Council of Minister. When we are talking about the PM's Council of Minister, you know that in India we have a system wherein president works on aid and advice of Council of Minister, and that Council of Minister is headed by Prime Minister. Okay, so we will talk about that since there is new legislature or the Lok Sabha, and considering that we have a new Council of Minister now. Okay, then significance of Maldives. We'll talk about the significance of Maldives over here as well. Then we'll come to 6 days war. When we are talking about the Israel and Hamas issue, okay, so there is this 6 days war which has happened way back, and that is the root cause of the problems in the Middle East. Okay, then Russian footprints in Africa. So we'll talk about that as well. Okay, so we'll start our discussion from these few articles. Hold on a second. Okay, so considering the practice question which was given to you in the previous lecture, so here you can see this is the question: which legislative bodies are affected by the reservation of 1/3 of all seats for women under the Constitution 106th Amendment Act 2023? Lok Sabha only, state legislative assemblies only, both Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies, and Rajya Sabha only. Okay, so when we are talking about this particular question and the women's reservation bill, you know that is for the Lok Sabha as well as the state assemblies. Okay, option C is your right answer over here. Okay, now coming to the front page of the newspaper, here you can see this is the front page, and mostly they are talking about the cabinet committees. And when we are talking about PM says security and the peace key as Nawaz sends a hope message. So after this new government, there was this speculations that there can be a new strategy with respect to Pakistan. Okay, so with that is also the case we will be witnessing. Okay, then there are a portfolio has been allotted, so we'll be talking about that as well. Okay, now let's start with the first article. So that is basically Modi's third term begins. Okay, Rajnath, Shah, Gadkari, these are the, you can say, when we are talking about the top ranks in the cabinet, and then there are other ministers which has been appointed. Okay, so when we are talking about the kind of system we have, as I told you, we have a government which is headed by, if we see at the nominal head of the state, you know that is basically president, and president will be you can say guided by aid and advice of the, you can say, Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister. Okay, before assuming the office of Prime Minister, the President administers the oath of office and secrecy to the Prime Minister elect. Okay, now here we are talking about the oath because you know that Prime Minister and the along with other 72 ministers, they have taken the oath. Okay, so we will see what is the oath Prime Minister takes, because that can be asked in some examination. As part of the oath of the office, Prime Minister takes an oath to bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India, to uphold the sovereignty and the integrity of India, to faithfully and consistently discharge the duties of his office, to do right to all manner of the people in accordance with the constitution and law, without fear or favor, affection or ill will. Okay, so basically that is the oath which is taken by Prime Minister. Okay, here most important for you is that Prime Minister takes one is the oath of office, and then oath of secrecy as well. Okay, so that is about it, and then now we can move to the further part. That is basically about the Council of Minister. Okay, as I told you, there will be a Council of Minister, and that Council of Minister will be headed by Prime Minister. Prime Minister is part of that Council of Minister, and you can say he is first among the equal. Okay, so basically when we are talking about this Council of Minister, there is this article in the Constitution which is talking about Council of Minister, and which is your responsibility to answer me in the comment box that which article precisely talks about Council of Minister headed by Prime Minister to aid and advise President. Okay, now coming to this part over here, that Council of Minister is the highest decision making body in the government headed by Prime Minister. No doubt Council of Minister is the highest decision making body, but in India we have one system, that is cabinet. Okay, cabinet is part of the, you can say, the Council of Minister is the bigger entity, and within which we have cabinet, and this cabinet is, you can say, a group of few you can say important ministers and having important portfolio, and now these are basically the person who will take decisions and then they will convey it to the Council of Minister. Okay, so that is there. According to the 91st Constitutional Amendment Act 2003, the total number of ministers, including the Prime Minister, in the Central Council of Ministers shall not exceed 15% of the total Lok Sabha strength. Okay, so that should not be more than 15% of the Lok Sabha strength. Okay, so this term, this particular provision you should remember, and that was done through the 91st Constitution Amendment Act. Okay, now here you can see in India there are different kind of ministers when we are talking about the Council of Ministers. One is, first, these are the ministers which are responsible for the heading ministries and department of the central government. Okay, they will head the ministry or department of the central government. Then comes the you can say ministers of the state. Okay, now minister of the states are basically the minister who have been given independent charge of a specific department, or they may assist the cabinet minister. Now who is cabinet minister? In these, among these ministers, okay, now they are having same rank when we are talking about different ministries and the department. There are certain departments, or there are certain ministries which are quite important when we are talking about the home, when we are talking about the defense. These all ministers are basically part of your cabinet. Okay, and then these ministers are called as cabinet ministers. Cabinet ministers, being part of the Council of Ministers, holds major ministry such as home, defense, finance. Okay, so these are basically cabinet ministers. Now a minister of state can be given an independent charge of a department, or he can be attached with a cabinet minister. Okay, now deputy ministers, they assist both cabinet minister and the minister of the state to administrative, political and the parliamentary duties. Okay, now these deputy ministers will be assisting ministers of the states as well as the cabinet ministers. Now additionally, the Prime Minister may suggest appointing a Deputy Prime Minister, usually for the political reason. No doubt we don't have this post of you can say Deputy Prime Minister when we are talking about the Constitution, but for the political reasons, Prime Minister can go for the appointment of a, you can say, Deputy Prime Minister, and that appointment will be done by President, but again he Prime Minister will be the one who will be suggesting the name. Okay, so that is about the ministers, that is about the strength of the Council of Ministers. Then we have seen that why Council of Ministers is necessary. Okay, and what kind of system is India following. We have seen the oath of Prime Minister as well. Now coming to the important ministries and their, you can say, area of focus, that would be when we say when we talk about these ministries, we can say that these are some immediate or the short term goals. Okay, so first, External Affairs Ministry, that is under S. Jaishankar, and now on the table is that taking call on the India's attendance of Ukraine peace meet, that we will talk about this Ukraine peace meet that is happening in the Switzerland. Okay, so you must have heard about this Swiss peace process. So we have talked about it earlier as well, and today also we will talk about that. Okay, then participation at the G7 summit in Italy. Then we have relations with Pakistan. As I told you, after the new government will be formed, there will be some you can say change in the strategy with respect to Pakistan. Okay, so that is on the table. Then comes Home Ministry. Obviously Home Ministry is quite important, and on the table are roll out of 3 criminal laws. You know that we have gone for the reforms in the criminal justice system and the criminal laws, and ultimately we will be shifting to the 3 new laws. Okay, so that is the rollout of criminal laws from the July 1. That is one thing. Second is National Population Register. Now that is also called as NPR. Now it is your duty to go and check what is NPR, what is NCR, what are the difference, because this is a static part and I will not go into details of this because otherwise session will go long. Okay, so that is there. And census, because of the COVID, you know that census was postponed. Okay, so now the focus will be on census as well. Okay, coming to the next, that is Health Ministry, implementing Ayushman Bharat, rollout of UWIN. Okay, so universal WIN, that is vaccine management platform is there. Okay, then vaccination against the cervical cancer for girls. Okay, then comes the Defense Ministry. On the table is achieving greater self-reliance. We know that we are going forward with the Atmanirbhar Bharat. We are trying to go for the self-dependence in the space sector as well as the defense sector. So here we are saying that greater self-reliance on the domestic industry. Then creation of theater command, we have talked about that as well. Okay, and then border infrastructure upgrade. Okay, so these are some important things which Ministry of Defense will be focusing on. Then comes there are several other ministries like Panchayati Raj, they will be going for the demand for grant from the regular budget. Okay, now all the ministries here, they will be talking about budget, because obviously we have gone for the interim budget in February. Okay, the full budget will come now because government has been formed. So now all these ministries, they will be talking about the grants for demands for grants for regular budget. Okay, so that is there common in every ministry over here, so we can skip that. Second is e-governance and implementation of PM Swamitva. Okay, so this PM Swamitva scheme is there. Okay, then Jan Shakti, Namami Gange, demands for grants is there, and then ensuring tap water to rural households. Okay, then coming fisheries, animal husbandry. So there are various initiatives which has been announced in the interim budget. Okay, so you can go through those particular, you can say, summaries which are there, or you can say we have YouTube videos on that. So you can go through the playlist that is given in the our channel. Now ensuring fodder availability, then there are consumer affairs and the public distribution related certain initiatives are there, which are there, like keeping prices of essential commodities in check, sufficient procurement for the food grains, etc. Then culture and tourism is there, environment ministry is there, urban development is there, law ministry is there. In the law ministry, they are also talking about one nation, one election, which we have talked various times. Then to build India as a leading arbitration hub. Okay, now why a leading arbitration hub? Because when we are talking about the arbitration, that is where you can say people go for the arbitration when there is an issue and they want a person or you can say kind of a mediator. Okay, so at that place should be neutral, and that is why we are saying that internationally, if there is an issue, we can create infrastructure for that arbitration in our country. That is kind of a service which we will be providing. Okay, implementation of the 3 criminal laws from the July 1, that is there. Then agriculture and the farmers welfare, that is PM Kisan installments, release of PM Kisan installments. You know that we have this 2000 rupees into 3 installments. Okay, so total 6000 rupees a year will be given to farmers, so that is there under PM Kisan. Then finalizing demand for grant, that is already part of the budget, and preparation for the ensuring Kharif season. Okay, so when we are talking about ensuring Kharif season, means that you will go for the announcement of MSPs, etc. All these things are part of agriculture and the farmers welfare. Rural development, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, implementation of that, and they have gone for the 2 crore more houses, etc. So these are certain area of focus which will be there in the various ministries. Okay, now that is there, and now we will come to the next article, which is related to that peace process. As I told you, we will be discussing about that Swiss peace process. Okay, now this is important because now India has to decide that whether they will be attending it or not. And now the thing is, there are various countries, like 90 countries will be attending this particular summit. Okay, and now this summit, when we are talking about the peace process, that is basically Ukraine giving their plan for the peace, etc. Russia will not be participating it. Russia will not be participating in it. So obviously this can be an ex-party process. Okay, we will see what is the outcome, but first we will see whether India will join it or not. That is for our ministry to decide. Okay, now nearly 90 countries and the organizations, half from the Europe, have confirmed attending Swiss hosted Ukraine peace summit over weekend. Okay, Russia won't be there because obviously Russia is like this is a process which is dominated by West over here. Okay, so that is there. And here you can say conference is based on the peace proposals of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky that Russia rejects. Okay, so basically Russia is saying that peace process is basically the idea of Ukrainian president, and he has said that there are certain he has some plans related to it. So basically that is why they will not be joining it. The summit on Saturday and Sunday will aim to chart a path towards possible peace nearly 28 months after Russian forces invaded Ukraine and the war guided on. Okay, so basically this Russia-Ukraine war is there. Okay, here one important factor I would like to tell you is that now why Russia wants to take over Ukraine. Okay, So you know that most of the ports or most of the, you can say, Russian land is basically under ice. Okay, they are ice capped, or you can say Siberian region, and because of which they need area for agriculture, they need a place from where they can go for the trade, etc. They need ports. Okay, now Ukraine is having a direct boundary with the Black Sea. Okay, and that is why Russia is trying to capture Ukraine. And second thing is, you know that Ukraine is also known as the bread basket. Okay, so they are famous for wheat cultivation, and that is why Russia is trying to, you know, go for it. Political reasons can be different. Okay, but this is the strategic reason. When we are talking about Russia, a country like Russia has to expand. Okay, because in the northern part most of the lands are basically of no use for Russia. Okay, so these are the reasons, or you can say strategic reasons. Now coming to the next part, most of our discussion today will be related to IR because there are certain developments which has happened. So let's talk about significance of Maldives pro-China President Moizu's New Delhi visits. Okay, so when we are talking about the oath taking ceremony, in that oath taking ceremony there are various you can say guests which were invited, and nearly, when we are talking about the leaders from the neighborhood, they were also invited, and one among them was President Mohammad Moizu. Okay, so basically he has accepted the invitation, he has come, and you can say this is the first time he has come to India after the, you can say, elections. And you know that there was this issue which has happened between India and Maldives because of, you know, various reasons. And second, we can say that he is having a specifically pro-China inclination, and he has gone for the first visit to China. You can say there was this tradition that after the elections the Maldivian president used to come to India, but they have broken the tradition and they have gone to China at that point of time. So these are certain small tensions were there, but now he has come to India. Now there is a specific significance which is attached to it. Okay, so first let's see. President of Maldives Mohammad Moizu was one among the 7 leaders from the India's neighborhood who attended the Prime Minister's swearing in ceremony. Okay, so this particular presence was significant. We will see why. India out candidate. Okay, when we are talking about the elections in the Maldives, so there were when we are talking about the campaigning and when it was going on, he has started this India out campaign. According to them, the thing is, India is meddling with the domestic politics over there, and India is having a military presence over there. When we are talking about the certain helicopters and certain equipments were there for the humanitarian aid, which were operated by Indian personnel. So basically they are saying that these military persons should not be here. Okay, so that is why they have come up with the India out campaign. Okay, so there are various sections of the society in the Maldives, they have supported that, and they have elected Mr. Moizu in the power. Okay, on that particular plank of India out, he has won the elections. Okay, so now coming to this part here, Moizu came to power on November 19th last year, that is 2023. On India out plank, the India out campaign has begun in 2020 as the Maldives opposition protest against the President Ibrahim Soleh policies friendly towards New Delhi. So previous, or the former president, was kind of having these friendly relations with you can say India, and that is why they were quite skeptical about his policies. Okay, that was this movement against India's alleged military presence in the archipelago. Okay, so that is there, and to remove these people they have come up with the India out campaign. And since the day he has taken the oath as the president, he has, first thing what he has done was that India should remove these forces from Maldives, and we have removed these forces, and now there are civilian people who are operating, Indian civilians who are operating these equipments over there. Okay, the final batch of Indian soldiers who were stationed in the Maldives to operate and maintain 2 helicopters and 3 Dornier aircraft, they were replaced by the civilians. Okay, now Moizu's pro-China tilt, as we have seen that after the election he has gone to China, that was the fun thing. Okay, like his mentor former President Abdullah Yamin Abdul Gayoom. So basically he was the former president and he was in jail, and because of which he has contested the election. It is when we are talking about the scholars, they say that he is the proxy of Abdullah Yamin. Okay, so that is there. India-Maldives relation deteriorated, aligned his country with the China. When we are talking about this interest, they have aligned it. When we are talking about the previous term, when this party, or you can say when Abdullah Yamin was in power, he was a minister back then, and then also he has this Chinese tilt. Okay, Muizu broke with a Maldivian tradition to choose Beijing over New Delhi for the first foreign visit as president. We have talked about it. In March, Mali signed agreements with Beijing to obtain free non-lethal military equipment and training from China. Okay, and it is also part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, and they are getting a lot of money out of China because of being part of BRI. So these are certain indications which says that they are having this tilt towards China. Okay, now historical relationship, if we see, so India and Maldives has this cultural affinity, then they have been in the vicinity, or you can say in the neighborhood when we are talking about the distances. So from our Lakshadweep's Miniko Island, it is nearly 130 kilometers, and when we see from the west coast, or you can say the Kerala coast over here, that is nearly 560 kilometers. Okay, so that is the kind of you can say proximity we have with Maldives. Other than that, when we are talking about the country is mostly dependent on you can say, when we are talking about the imports, country is dependent on the imports, and these most of the imports are from India. Okay, so that is you can say commercial relations when we are talking about India and Maldives. That is one thing. Okay, here you can say it has been a crucial ally, important to secure its maritime periphery. Okay, when we are talking about the Maldives, when we are talking about the Maldives in this particular area, to keep an eye on the you can say Indian Ocean, Maldives is quite important for us. Okay, so that is an you can say crucial ally for us. We have seen the location, and then we will see the Maldives cannot simply let go of India. It is heavily dependent on the Indian imports for the food to life saving medicines, aircraft, etc. Okay, and we have sent help after 2004 tsunami, so we are kind of first responder when it comes to Maldives. Other than that, also there are, when we are talking about the COVID-19, we have sent medicines, masks, gloves, PPE kits, etc. Okay, so we have played a crucial role. Even in 1988, there was this military coup which has happened in Maldives. Then also India has supported Maldives. Okay, so that is that chance of fresh starts. Now, after all these things which has happened recently with China and India and you can say Maldives, now we can say that this particular visit, you can say Muizu's visit, is a you can say opportunity for us to restart or you can say go for a fresh start. Okay, India approved the highest ever export quota. When we are talking about the you can say fresh start or the restart, India has been laying the foundation from start from way back. So here you can say in 2024-25 there is this specific bilateral agreement between you can say India and Maldives. That is a specific arrangement. Okay, under that particular mechanism, India has approved highest ever export quota for the essential commodities when we are talking about Maldives. Okay, so India is trying to gain trust of Maldives again. So that is about India and Maldives relations. Okay, so I hope that is enough for us. Now moving further, next is related to the 6 days war. Okay, so when we are talking about the time of 1967, at that point of time, June 5th to June 10th was the day that is called the 6 days war in Israel. This war has happened between Israel and the Arab countries. Israel has won this particular war. There are some consequences which has happened at that point of time when we are talking about the areas of Israel. Here you can see in this particular map, after the 1967 war, what has happened, that Israel has occupied this Sinai Peninsula from the Egypt and these Golan Heights from Syria and West Bank from Jordan. Okay, after some time they have actually in 1982 finally they have given the Sinai Peninsula back to Egypt. Okay, but these Golan Heights and West Bank are still with Israel. Now this particular event which has happened in 1967, that has actually changed the dynamics of Israel, or that particular when we see the Middle East, they have actually the whole history or the whole issue which has sparked in 1967, that has shaped the you can say geopolitics of that particular area. Okay, afterwards there was this 1973 war also, 1972-73 war also. Okay, so that is also an attempt to regain the power in the, or by the Arab nations to regain the power in this particular area. But again, in that point of time also, Israel has actually did not actually succumb to that particular pressure. Okay, now why this particular war started? Because there is this particular you can say port which has been closed by you can say Egypt at that point of time. Okay, so here you can say Egypt's naval blockade of the Strait of Tehran. Okay, so this Strait of Tehran has been blocked by Egypt at, see somewhere over here, When we are talking about the Suez Canal area, okay, so there was this strait of Tehran, and that was the port through which Israel used to go for the, you can say, commercial activities. So that is why this was quite important for Israel. So Israeli, then the strait are the pathway into the Israeli port of Iltah, okay, or Elath. I don't know how to pronounce it. So spelling is Elath. So you can check the pronunciation. So when we are talking about this particular, strait of Tehran, that has been the gateway to this particular port of Elath, and ultimately Israel could not go for the trades, and that is how this war actually started in this particular area. They have gone for the, you can say, air strikes as well at that point of time. But again, the crux of the matter is that Israel won the war. Israel has taken over the 3-4 areas like Sinai Peninsula, West Bank, and you can say Golan Heights, etc. Okay, so that was the outcome of this particular war. Okay, you can go through this particular article because it is given in a very simple language. There is nothing much to dwell into it. Now, because of this particular war which has happened, that has actually created a lot of refugee crisis. Most of the Palestinian people has to actually leave from that particular area, and ultimately that has shaped the issue which is there in today's Israel and the Palestine area. Okay, so that is about it. Now moving further, Russia growing footprints in Africa, security in return for the mineral resources. Okay, so this article you can read, but the thing is, this is the crux of the article. I'll walk you through it, and then we'll be going for the next article. When we are talking about Africa, you know that it is an area which is quite, you can say, there are various reserves when we are talking about the minerals, etc. Okay, and these are unexplored reserves, because Africa, there are various countries which they do not have that kind of technical expertise or the resources to extract these minerals. Okay. Other than that, also when we talk about Africa, there is this particular Sahel region which is going through a lot of chaos, and this is the reason which is most of the time when we are talking about politically, this will be in the chaos, and there is some kind of instability which is going on in that particular area, and because of which they cannot focus on the exploration of the minerals. Okay, now Russia is quite prominent in that particular area, because what Russia does is Russia is supporting the, you can say, military governments over there. Okay, and Russia is saying that they will provide you the security in return of these particular minerals. Now, security to whom? The Janta governments which are there. Okay, the military governments which are there. Russia is saying that we will provide you the security. Okay, you can rule, but we will be taking the minerals. Okay, so that was the thing which has, you can say, led Russia to have a sway in this particular area. When we are talking about the Western countries also had some influence in this particular area. When we are talking about the countries like France, etc., they were the former colonial power in that area, and they have also established some kind of democratic government over there, but these government could not survive. Okay, and these former colonial powers, they have actually said that they will be providing security, they will be working for the development, etc., but that did not happen. Okay, and that is why they have been replaced with Russia in this particular area. Okay, so that is the whole story. Now coming to this particular part, African interest. So if we are talking about the African interest, what are the interests over here? That the countries like Russia has said that they will not meddle with the political or the domestic politics over here. Okay, so they have said that Russia said that unlike USA, it does not meddle with their internal politics. Janta ruled the countries, avoid calls from the human rights and the democracy by replacing the West with Russia. So basically what is happening is that the Janta governments which are there, they are actually not very fond of these human rights and democracy. They do not want some kind of you can say such calls from Western countries. Okay, and that is why these people has replaced the Western countries and put Russia over here as a close partner. Okay, then Russian interest, as I told you, there are vast minerals that comes in the return for security, like gold, diamonds in the Central African Republic, Congo's cobalt, Sudan's oil and gold, Madagascar's chromite, Zimbabwe's platinum and diamonds, and Namibia's uranium. So these are the, you can say, specific mineral resources which are present in, you can say, Africa. You can remember all these things because that can be asked in examination. Okay, then failure of the West, as I told you, these Western countries like France, USA, they were there and they have promised that they will provide stability and the democracy, but that could not happen for a long while, and that is why people over here, they are quite skeptical about the Western presence, and now they are with Russia over here. Okay, so that is about the Russia's, you can say, sway in the African continent right now. Okay, so you can go through this particular article, but the gist is that if you go through this or make note of this particular thing, that is enough for you. Okay. Now coming to the next part. Basically, when we are talking about the African part, you know that when we are talking about the northern and the central Africa, here we have Sahara desert, and then there are these grasslands over there, and in between there is this area that is called Sahel region. Okay, now this Sahel region is having various countries, like here you can say Senegal is there, then Mali is there, Mauritania is there, Niger is there, Chad is there, Sudan is there. Okay, some part of, you can say, Egypt is also there. Okay, Libya. These countries are basically in chaos. There are, government or the political governments are not very stable over there. You must have heard about the military coup which has happened in Mali. Okay, then it has happened in Niger, it has happened in Burkina Faso. So all these military coups which has happened over here, that is the evidence that this area is not very stable, and there are reasons. That is very harsh climatic area over here, and then there is the presence of ISIS. ISIS is quite strong over here, and because of which there are various extreme activities, terrorist activities which are happening over there. Okay, so that is about this particular area, that is of Sahel region, that belt over here which is you can witness over here, that is quite important for you, like Senegal, Mali, Niger, Chad, Sudan, Eritrea. Okay, so these are the countries which are having a prominence of these you can say activities, or the, you can say, unstable governments over here. Okay, so that is about it. And other than this Sahara desert, okay, and then there are Atlas mountains are there, that is also there. Okay, now moving to the next part, that is Chinese armed ship patrol around the disputed island angering Japan. Okay, so when we are talking about China and Japan, there is this island that is disputed, that is Senkaku Island. Okay, so here you can see this when we are talking about the mainland China, it is there. Then we have Taiwan. This is Japan, and there is this island that is Senkaku. Okay, so this Senkaku Island is disputed between China and, you can say, Japan. Okay, in Japan it is called Senkaku. Okay, and when we are talking about China, it is called Diaoyu. Okay, so in China it is called Diaoyu. So this is the island which is there when we are talking about the dispute between China and Japan. So this can be asked in examination like prelims, etc. Other than that, also when we are talking about, this is in the East China Sea. East China Sea. And when we are talking about the South China Sea, we have gone through this various time, like Spratly Island, Paracel Island is there, Second Thomas Shoal is there. Okay, so all these things are disputed in that particular area. Okay, now moving further to for your own read part, there is this NEET controversy. There are nearly 67 students who has got 720 out of 720. Other than that, there are students who has got 718 to 719. Now the thing is, this score is not, you can say, possible. When we are talking about NEET, the highest score is 720, and the next highest can be 716. Okay, but this in between 18 and 19 cannot be possible, but it has happened this time. So for that, there is this controversy which we have discussed in the in news program, so you can watch that video and go through this particular article. Okay, now second article for your read is basically Agnipath scheme. Because of the coalition government which has been formed recently, there are various parties, like you can say Telugu Desam party is there, and then you can say when JDU, when we are talking about, these are the parties which are actually asking for the review of Agnipath scheme. Okay, so we have talked about this particular article in your in news program, so you can go and watch this article. When we are talking about Agnipath, you know that that is a recruitment program wherein a person from 17 and a half years to 21 years, they can join, you can say, the defense services for the on the contractual basis of the 4 years, and then there will be given a Seva Nidhi. Okay, nearly 11.71 lakh rupees they will be provided. Okay, so that is there, and other than that, they won't be getting any pension or any kind of retirement benefits, etc. So there are certain issues which are related to it. Okay, so that is there. So we have talked about that in the in news program, so you can go and watch that particular video. Now moving to the last article, that for your own read, that is basically power of speaker. Now if you know it from your static part, so you don't have to go through it, but there are certain examples which are given, so you can go through this particular article. Okay, it is given in a simple language. Why we are talking about it? Because there is new Lok Sabha, obviously there will be a speaker, so we'll be talking about that. Okay, so you can go through this article, that is what is the constitutional mandate and what are the power of the speakers. Okay, so that is basically static, so you can go through it. Okay, now last part, that is basically your practice question. Which of the given country is not part of Africa's Sahel region? That is part of. Which of the given country is not part of Africa's Sahel region? Okay. So Mali, Senegal, Chad and Kenya. So you can attempt this question and answer in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. If you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe it. Have a nice day. Thank you.